Thanks for having me here, everybody. This has been a really fascinating conversation so far, and I've been really excited to be a part of it. So as you all know, I'm here from Mozilla, and AI, search, and browsers are a really interesting combination here. And so I want to give a little bit of a sneak peek into what we're seeing in the browser space, and then some interesting insights that are starting to come up as it relates to search specifically. So there's a number of different ways in which AI and the browser are starting to work together, right? You have a number of these legacy browsers, Firefox included, Chrome, folk like that, that are building and have built small local models that have done interesting work in translating what you're looking at and helping improve that. These are things like translation, summarization, tab grouping, but essentially acting as a transparent viewport in between the user and the internet. What we're starting to see now is a number of things like the AI-powered browsers. This might be Atlas or Comet, that are actually building in more decision-making processes directly into the browser themselves. So for example, with OpenAI's Atlas, there's some interestingly fine-tuned local models. And what they do is when the user is entering a search, they actually determine whether to send this to a search engine or whether to do some agentic research on their own. And so this decision-making process is actually getting built into the browser itself. So the browser, rather than being a transparent viewport in between the user and the web, is starting to make some of these interesting decisions for the user. Finally, we're also seeing agentic infrastructure being built. So headless browsers have existed for quite a while. Web automation has existed for quite a while. But we're starting to see these being puppeted by central AI systems. These are being used for things like advanced scraping, making these kind of brittle systems a bit more robust, and kind of opening up new market opportunities. So this is where I'm spending a lot of my time, building kind of the infrastructure to help developers use AI on the web more easily. Let's see if this, there we go. Yeah, so we're at a bit of this kind of exponential explosion of people figuring out the way in which we engage with the web with AI. Large browsers with the existing market shares and the number of users and kind of the types of systems that people are used to are pretty limited in the amount of kind of experimentation that they're able to do. What we're seeing is that there's a lot of really interesting exploration in the space by developers themselves, right? They have a lot more opportunity to go out there and test new ways of automating, because at the end of the day, the browsers are still really early. All of this agentic use stuff is not 100% reliable, and there's these really large security issues too. And so the large existing browsers need to move quite cautiously into the space, whereas developers are able to move kind of at a rapid state of iteration. Let's see, there we go. So the product that I'm working on right now is, again, kind of essentially headless browser management powered by AI, right? And we're here to talk about search, and thanks Bright Data for all of the work that you guys are powering there. So to manage a fleet of headless systems, it looks quite simple, but it's actually quite complex. And everybody that's doing work on the web right now needs basically the same set of tools, right? You're doing some orchestration, you're doing the actual extraction of the content, and then search being kind of a core part of this. As these agentic systems are taking actions on behalf of these developers, there's a wide range of needing to get the navigation right and all of these movement. So there's an interesting thing about running these headless browsers that are being driven by AI as it relates to search, is the headless browsers that we manage here are actually paying for the search that we use, right? So this inverts the traditional relationship between browser and search. Where traditionally browsers were interested in getting in front of viewers, whereas now the headless systems that we're managing are actually paying for the results, right? And so it's inverting the traditional search browser relationship, which is quite interesting. But that's actually true of these agentic browsers as well. So as we're starting to see more of these browsers that are taking action on behalf of the users, when they send something out to a traditional search engine, there's one way of value exchange. And when they're doing searches on behalf of the user, the exchange flips, right? And so we end up with this kind of weird polarity flip where a single user query coming into one of these modern AI-powered browsers can have multiple different angles of value exchange kind of within the same user session, right? So a user engaging with within a single session can send value one direction, and then the next query can send it back the other direction. And the browser, as it's making these decisions on behalf of the user, is actually determining which way the value flows, right? And we haven't seen ads being built into the models before, so this might not be a long-term permanent thing. In fact, it kind of like indicates that we're in a state of flux, because it's like, oh, wait, which way is the value going? How does this actually work? And again, the browser kind of like coming in here and doing this within a single session. Let's see here. Another thing here that's interesting that we're seeing is that, again, search used to be tightly coupled, right? So there was like a one-to-one relationship between a user sitting in front of a computer and getting a page of search results back. But this is another thing that's changing, right? Where when a user is engaging with an agentic browser and they're asking a question, often multiple search queries can go off and multiple pages of search results come back. The agent processes that and then presents the information to the end user. And so we're seeing basically the volume of search within the context of the browser being decoupled from user actions in a way that it hasn't before. And so we're seeing basically the possibility of kind of like exponential growth of search queries and search volume, even as the number of user queries stays the same. And kind of to round out over here, the most interesting thing that we're starting to see here is browsers evolving from, again, kind of like passive viewports that simply like display the internet to you into something that's starting to manipulate and actually make decisions on behalf of the user. So, but that's a talk for another time. So, yeah, thank you. Cheers.